I also welcome press and media to cover this symposium and to create the awareness among the public in the Sirsi and other areas of the state. Thank you.
A gesture that symbolizes life renewal and our shared commitment to nurturing the environment. I humbly invite Shri B.P. Ravi, IFS Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, EWPRT and CC, to kindly inaugurate the program by watering the plant. I also request the esteemed judges and dignitaries on the dais to kindly join their hands in this symbolic act of growth and sustainability. Thank you, sir, and all our esteemed dignitaries for your gracious participation in this meaningful fight. Shri B.P. Ravi, IFS Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, EWPRT and CC, for the inaugural address.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲಿರುವ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ವೈಸ್ ಚಾನ್ಸಲರ್ ಅಂತ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ಎಲ್ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ರವರೇ, ಕುವೆಂಪು ಜನ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಾಸುದೇವ್ರವರೇ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೇ, ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಂಥ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ಸ್, ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್, ಫ್ಯಾಕಲ್ಟಿಯವರೇ, ನನ್ನ ಮಿತ್ರರೇ, ನನ್ನ ಇಲಾಖೆಯ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿಗಳೇ ಮತ್ತು ಪತ್ರಿಕಾ ಮಿತ್ರರೇ. First, a very important name actually, we brought out a plan, the Karnataka State Climate Action Plan, that has been approved by the Government of India during the last year, maybe in the month of February or April. In association with the Center for Environment and Education, we have taken steps, first of all, to create a sort of an awareness about the climate change. That's most important. Without creating an awareness, means the people that who are assembled here in this room, they are very well aware of what is climate change, what is its effect on the ecosystems, and what is its effects on the livelihood of the people. But it is not important that we know, the academia, the officers, the policymakers. It is very essential to know that actually what the man on the street knows about the climate change. If you don't take this message to a common masses, it's very difficult to build a sort of a resilience against the climate change. So when I interacted with the school community, the teachers and everything, I explained to them in a simple terms what is climate change. All of us have assembled here. If the ventilation is not kept open, if your fans are not operating, the ACs is not operating, after 1 or 2 hours, your carbon dioxide level will increase. All of us are suffocated here. We feel very restless. So the greenhouse gases emitting is continuously going there. They are building up, and the temperature is rising. Because of the temperature rise, and there are very unknown consequences are happening. Probably this workshop might have planned that in such a way that 31st, so maybe a dry days, but actually the monsoons well in advance, 10 days, and maybe some of this arrangement logistics might have been affected. So one is awareness is key, and communicating that to the masses is also very important. And the topic that is chosen is actually this climate resilient forestry. So that means forests must be managed against the climatic changes. So there are two ways of actually, one is adoption, another is a mitigation. That is why that we can address this actually and its effects on the forest ecosystem. Take into the Karnataka's account, we have about 4.1 million hectares of the forests. Most of the forest is now it is confined to the Western Ghat. We have urban centers are coming up, and there is a rural landscape. How you are managing this forest? So we are writing the working plans about the 40 odd divisions of actually the Western Ghat. And most of our actually the forest, the management plans or working plans that prescribe is, the first strategy is holding on to the existing forest ecosystem is very important and very critical. If you don't hold on to the existing forest ecosystems, and it is very difficult to actually to have a balance in the ecosystem services. When I say that holding on to the existing forest ecosystems, what are the threats? Increasing urbanizations, the increasing infrastructural built-up area, developmental pressures on the forest ecosystems. So we have to maintain this actually, whatever the natural forests are existing, without compromising their integrity and everything, we have to hold on to the existing forest system, no encroachments in the forest ecosystem. That's most important. No more further encroachments. No more further decrease in the natural forest ecosystem. That must be our first strategy to actually, that is actually a first strategy against this climate resilience forest management. That's what I think that. And I have been sharing with this Vasant that due to the increase in the temperature, my forests are vulnerable to the forest fires. And we have a sort of the system, it is built up not in 1 or 2 days, it has been built up over 10 or 15 years. You see, in recent days, you don't see any forest fires in Inaugural landscape or the Bandipura landscape or maybe in the BRT landscape, where actually our wildlife areas are concentrated in the southern parts of our state. Why it is so? Because we have gained a tremendous knowledge, a practical experience over a period of maybe 2 decades. The moment actually the month of January starts or December starts, all forest officers who are working there, including from my forest watcher up to the PCCF, they get naturally alerted about the impending forest fire season. There is a sort of an institutional mechanism. There is a sort of the culture that is built up in actually in a way of we are anticipating the forest fires. All this entire staff and machinery is ready to actually face the consequences, but that is not been there in the Western Ghat, because anything happen in the natural forest ecosystem, Inaugural or Bandipura, you see this actually the headlines that are appearing in the Bangalore edition newspaper. There is a fire in the Bandipura, there is a fire in the Inaugural, and the message get alerted, it goes to the policy makers and the bureaucratic circles, and we closely scrutinize this one. But in the last 4 or 5 years, the number of forest fires that have been occurred is more in case of the Belgaum circle and in the Canara circle. Now, we are giving an emphasis on actually how to counter this forest management. It is due to the climatic change, because the change in the temperatures. Now we have to increase the awareness and also increase the capabilities of the forest staff who are working there in this manner. We have to anticipate well in advance. That is actually a second strategy, that to minimize the forest fires, to hold on to the existing forest system is the second strategy that actually the forest department is working. Now, your district is highly prone to the landslides, especially. This is number 1 district, if I am right, in our Karnataka. Your strategies to overcome this one. You must actually minimize the road constructions. Where road construction is inevitable, there only you will have to construct the roads. You don't actually construct the roads like in the plain area wherever you want there, because your area is prone to the landslides. These are the developmental pressures and increasing the vehicle movement and everything. They actually contribute to the landslides in your this district. Now, what should be done? For example, 80%, 85% of this actually geographical area in this Canara district is actually covered by the forests. Now, in our working plans, wherever this actually the steep slopes are there, where actually the canopy is very dense, where forest is inaccessible, we prescribe no working of this forest. That means least interference. Our job is to only protect, because they are the areas where actually river originates. So in most of our working plans, the mention is made about this one is called biodiversity conservation working circle or the production working circle, where actually we manage the percent actually no working, no felling, no planting, only the production. This is actually the one of the people have adopted in case of the natural ecosystem. Whatever that knowledge that we gained over a period of years, maybe our level of understanding the natural ecosystem is still not very good. That's why the least interference is the best interference in case of managing the natural ecosystem. That is the surest way of actually managing the forest. But there are societal needs are also there. How actually you meet the societal needs? You have to sustain your communities, the development needs of the communities, and all. Now, for example, in Karnataka, about 1,60,000 hectares of the teak plantations were raised during the British period and also immediately after this one. During that time, actually, this concept of actually climate change was not there. The teak plantations were the need of the hour for the economic productivity of the forest. Some of these natural forests have been clear felled, have been burnt, and actually teaks for stumps are planted and also allow the intercultivation during that times. That is why the teak plantations have been established. So that is why we suggested actually with the help of the experts that instead of actually clear felling these teak plantations, slowly remove this actually the teak. So for example, if it is a 120 years of actually the teak plantation has reached 120 years, we say that actually the teak which is having a girth of 165 centimeter, because based upon the growth characteristics and the growth data that we analyzed, that we say that actually the trees which have matured and have got 165 centimeter of girth, they only to be removed, and wherever the gaps are created, plant the local natural species like vanne, beete, matti and all those species. Even in case of acacia, that is also our strategy. But in case of the NTAPs and also some of these areas like very unique ecosystems are there, that Vasant must be talking about this one actually, in the coastal areas we have this Kandlavana mangroves are there, here river swamps are there. They are very, very unique ecosystems. We try to identify them, map them. For example, how much of the Kandlavana is there, how much of the mangrove forests are there. They are highly important from the point of actually the coastal degradation is concerned. Wherever these Kandlavanas are there, wherever these mangroves are there actually your coastal, the damage is very much limited. We have witnessed in the coastal area of Mangalore, where our people have planted actually this natural vegetation, some of the species and also the Kandlavana. There the coastal degradation is minimum. But in contrast to this one, actually the government is spending lots of money on actually building the concrete walls to the coastal degradation, but that is not effective. The people have realized recently, the World Bank people have visited and appreciated the efforts of the Forest Department, and they suggested that the surest way of actually controlling this natural calamities is mimicking the nature-based solutions. The nature-based solutions like the establishing the mangrove wherever in the actually possible. In those areas where it is not possible, go actually the coastal plantations with the different layers of actually the tree species, herbs to the trees, sort of a dynamic, thermodynamic way of the plantation that our people have actually mastered in the Mangalore division, that the people from the other area, the World Bank have come there and they evaluated and they said this is the best way for actually the coastal degradation is concerned. And we need to have the sustainable way. This actually the people are saying that actually if you only manage this forest, for example, the farmer in 1 hectare of the area, you may get about 20 quintals of ragi in dry areas or maybe 40 quintals of actually paddy in the paddy area. So in terms of cubic meters of the bioproductions, it may be a 3 cubic meter or a 4 cubic meter. If a farmer can bring about 3 to 4 cubic meter of productivity, the people representative asked me, you have got about 4 million hectares of the forest, what is your contribution to my economy? They asked us, productive that our forest could be made. And one of the ways actually that removal of actually some of the old trees, in case of the plantations, dead and dry trees, actually open up the areas of the forest for kind of forest management and boost the growth of other codominants. Now, either two actually what we adopted is actually, we don't let us not harvest any trees. Other than the biodiversity conservation working circle, we say that only the trees which are there in the roadside, dead and fallen only, we remove it. But we found that actually, that is not actually so. Actually, maneuver of actually forest in such a way that actually other codominants which are there in the forest ecosystem, it get a chance to boost the growth. For example, when you adopt a maximum rotations in the current annual increment and mean annual increment, if you reach this maximal annual increment, it may take another 10 to 20 years for that particular teak trees to release the secondary metabolite, increase the quality of the wood. But after that actually 130, 140 years, what happens? Growth stagnates, take place. There is no growth in case of, at least in case of the plantations. We need to look at this one. That is why we are adopting the series of actually the prescriptions in the management working plan. And we are prescribed even the forest resilience, climate resilient forestry just based upon our scientific inputs and management. We need to have a very innovative policies. I'm very happy to share with actually the Karnataka government 20 years back that actually brought out a very important policy legislations. What is that actually? In the 2002, we brought a legislation that actually the people can grow the sandalwood trees in their own lands. They become the owners of the sandalwood. Occupant of a land become the owner of the sandalwood plantation. That was the policy in the 2002 introduced. Before that, all the sandalwood plantations, whether they arise in the government law or in the private land, used to belong to the government. And the people don't have any right over that one. Just because of the single policy intervention, today, as on today, we have about 45,000 acres of the sandalwood plantations there, where, not in the Western Ghats. It is there in Chitradurga, it is there in the Tumkur, it is there in the Ballari, it is there in the Kolar. About 45,000 acres of actually the sandalwood plantations have been raised. In case of the sandalwood plantation, the beauty of the sandalwood plantation is one sandalwood trees get me 2 more trees. It requires a host in the nursery stage, it requires a host in a intermediate stage, secondary parasite, it requires a host in a plantation also, tertiary parasites. So one sandalwood trees means 2 more forest trees. Now, the people started cultivating since 2002 the sandalwood plantation. Now there is a question is there, how to harvest it? We have a policies there actually. Those policies are based upon the old management policies, old regulations. There actually people were finding it difficult to remove this there or sandalwood plantation. They questioned us. On one way you say that grow the sandalwood plantation. On the other way that you say that your regulation says that you require to get a revenue opinion, you require to get the forest opinion, the survey and everything. What is this? So that is why recently that actually our minister took in a very bold initiative and with the interaction with the stakeholders, what is that actually we said that no revenue opinion is required, no survey is required. If Iduvali land, if there are plantation raised in the Iduvali land, and if the Iduvali is surrounded by all around Iduvali land, if it is upon an artificial regeneration, if the sandalwood is grown, it's confirmed is upon artificial regeneration, where is the question of actually getting the revenue opinion? So being the technical forest officers, my range officer has to certify that this is a of artificial regeneration. Therefore actually it would be a win-win situation both for the foresters and for the sandalwood growers. Now you know that actually how this actually is evolving, this actually the sandalwood in the national stage. There are 26 products have been being produced out of the sandalwood. There are 26 products one from the one sandalwood tree. So these are the sort of innovations we require, and we are promoting the sandalwood plantation. Now if you bring that, there are about 33,000 villages in Karnataka. We have our presence in about 10,000 villages. About 4 million hectares is there. We have our presence means we have our natural forests or the forests like areas there in the 10,000 villages. In another 20,000 villages, we don't have any actually a presence of forest department because there is no forest area. But whether there are trees? Yes, there are trees. Where actually the role of this agriculture department and the universities of agriculture sciences, universities of the horticulture sciences have a great role to play there in the drier area. For example, in Karnataka, out of this actually 19 million hectares of the geographical area, approximately 4 million hectares is a forested area. Remaining area, about 50 million hectare, is an area. Out of that 50 million hectare area, about 10 to 11 million hectare is an agriculture land. This is actually where actually we have to concentrate to increase our tree cover in this agriculture land. You have to think beyond forest to save the forests. This natural forest is maintained, must for actually maintaining the ecological services, but actually to meet the needs of actually the urban people, we need to grow more and more trees in the agricultural lands in the form of agroforestry and the bunds and everything. For that, what is that it is required? We need to have a policy innovations, like what we brought in case of the sandalwood plantation. There are 33,000 villages. I will tell you that actually even if it is 1,000 trees per village, the number of teak trees are more in case of actually in place of private land than in all of our natural forest. But why this actually, why farmers are not coming forward to grow these teak plantations is again the regulation mechanism, where we say that we require a revenue pin, where we say actually we require this survey, the sketch. Therefore, we need to bring a sort of a similar legislation there or a similar policy interventions to increase the tree cover in the drier area. So it is a mix of a policy, it is a mix of the science, it is a communication, it is creating an awareness and identifying is a non-compromising area. Some of the areas like the sholas, some of the areas like actually this, what do you call there in this Western Ghat areas, wasn't your hotspot like this, Myristica swamps and this mangroves, there are actually no compromise areas, sholas on this and some of these protected areas like there, where we say no intervention, sorry, no development. Nothing is possible there because these are the ones that are highly vulnerable and highly critical to the impending climatic change. If any intervention is done without foreseeing this one, the consequences are actually, if the once Myristica swamps is gone, it is very difficult to bring it back. And maybe Dr. Vasudev and Vasant watch for that because they are the one actually studied him. Some of these ecosystems, very critical ecosystems, you must identify, map and manage with no intervention or no developmental activities. So it is not one way of actually say that this is my solution for this the climate resilient forestry. And most importantly, that actually our forest ecosystems are the source of the water. For example, the Bangalore, the city that which is away from actually my river Kaveri, the 100 kilometers away, we are pumping the water against the gravity to sustain about 1.4 crores, about 14 million of the people. 14 million people actually, they are depending upon the Kaveri water. Now to get this actually, this water from the river Kaveri water, we need to maintain the forests in there in the Ghat, in the Madkera, in the Asan and the Inaugural. Imagine that if the forest areas are denuded and degraded over a period of time, if the available water quantity is reduced there in the river Kaveri, the economic engine of this Karnataka, that is going to be now facing a severe crisis. In the climate change, what actually this RCP 4.5 and RCP 8, maybe Mahesh is there, we have two scenarios. Our climate state action plan is now predicted that especially this area, the Karnataka, is highly sensitive to the water security. This is what actually the climate state plan action, they predicted it. The northern Karnataka, if you look at the map with this south of Tungabhadra river, the vegetation and tree cover, tree density is very good. But North Karnataka, especially the 7-8 districts of the Kalyana Karnataka, there actually the number of trees are very less, the vegetation is very less, and unfortunately this is the area, this is going to be hit very hard, and it is predicted that after Rajasthan, Karnataka is the second state which is highly vulnerable, and the rate of desertifications may happen in case of this Karnataka. That is what actually the climate scenario is predicted it. Now how to overcome that means we need to invest more and more money in the North Karnataka region, and there the help of the science, especially the agriculture universities and the forestry college comes there. I have been touring these areas of actually Ballari and Chitradurga, where actually our people have established a very good Canara, the hardwickia plantations in the forest landscape. But they were trying, in case of the urban forestry, some of the species which are not local, which are exotic. In case of the institution planting, in case of the urban forestry, I just asked them whether you have planted any single hardwickia tree in any of this Chitradurga or the Ballari or in the urban area. They said no. I said, why you are not planting this actually hardwickia? Look at this actually the error. The hardwickia is a deep root system. It is highly tolerant, highly drought resistant. It comes up very well. It has a good fodder value and a good timber value in the long run. It looks very beautiful, but we have not planted it actually. We need to look back our own backyard, what is actually the nature has provided. And recently I visited and I tried to impress upon by the young forest officer, you must plant actually hardwickia in the urban landscape also, because it doesn't require the water. So the another area of the concern is actually for this climate resilient is there, because the climate means actually it is not a one day affair. It has been a millions of years of evolutions. In the millions of years of evolutions, Mother Nature has found out some of the tree species which are local are better suitable compared to other species which are imported from elsewhere. So that is a must strategy, that actually you must go for more and more local species to have a climate proof resilient forestry. And some of these ideas are actually whatever we said, it is very easy to tell, but to implement it is very difficult. That actually there where actually we require a sort of our front line must be must be made aware of these things. For example, in case of this bamboos, I have been touring some of these plantations, some of these areas that are there, and some of the problems are actually in the bamboo management is a congestion. The bamboos have been planted, beautiful bamboo plantations have been raised. I have gone there, but why you are not harvesting? So people are not coming forward to harvest it. Why? Because it's a congestion has happened. You know how congestion happens? It happens at the nursery stage. So in the polybags, if you put 5-6 seeds and the rhizomes, 5-6 rhizomes will come there, they all put away a clutter, they are in a group, and we transfer this congestion to the planting area. And this congestion will happen through the 25-30 years, entire through the plantation it will be there. Instead of that, if they put a single seed in a bag and the raised bed transplantation, congestion will not be there. Some of the solutions are actually available at one. And also the role of the tree breeding and genetics is of paramount importance in case of actually roadside plantations. I've been touring some of this area in a particular division, in a particular range and a particular subdivision. All quality good plantations are there. All tall plants, uniform growth is good, vigor is there. No, where actually the idea of is that vigor is important. the trees are cross-pollinated, and now vigor is most important, so that they select the best seeds. Out of the best seeds, if the regeneration for a particular species per 10 to 20 days, the seeds which are germinated before the 15 days must only be now taken case of actually for transplanting it. This is what the role of the genetics. And now we read in the books, the concept is there, but how to put that into a practice is a challenge. We have got about 600 nurseries across the state of Karnataka. To go there, to implement this one, it is very important. That is actually the how that roadside plantations could be successful, the bamboo plantation could be successful, and in case of the sandalwood plantations also, the farmers ask that some of the farmers have planted only these sandalwood plantations because you have not provided a host, and also where to plant the sandalwood. See, the wisdom of actually our earlier years, this Mysore Nalmadi Krishna Raju Odiyar, and so he has built a climate resilient forestry there way long back in case of the sandalwood. How there are about 10,000 reserve forest blocks, but only about 70-80 are he has notified it as a sandal reserve plantations. They are called as the sandal reserve plantations. About 10,000 hectares is there. They are distributed in the districts of Chamarajanagar, Mysore, Kolar, Chikballapur, and in the southern districts. You know why? There all the soils are red soils, and they are good drained soils. For sandalwood growing, you require red soil, means nitrogen rich soils, and drainage should not be there. He selected this actually plantation and notified them as a sandal reserve plantations. And he established a sandal oil factory in Mysore, and he established a KSTL in the Bangalore. This is a value addition. That is what you are saying, how the community is to be sustained means that you should have a value additions for each of the product also. That's a chain has to be maintained. Now we are assessing this with the help of the IWST. What is that? Why that he has notified only this 10,000 hectares as a sandal reserve, not others? We are trying to find out that what is there in the soil, and try to tell the farmers, please grow only the sandalwood plantations where it is there. Couple of days the farmers came to our office and asking, sir, we have distributed since the policy 2002 about 1.84 crores of these sandalwood seedlings, 18.4 million sandalwood seedlings, but you have not provided a host trees of 36 million. They are asked, why you are not asked? It is not that actually they planted without the host. They planted with the host like there are a nut or a coconut or maybe a mango or maybe a trees, but for a technical purpose, for an academic purposes, if they question me, I should be able to answer them whether you have got a host trees already there planted or only you want a sandal. I must ensure that in the nurseries while giving a sandalwood seedlings to the private people, you please ensure that while you are giving sandalwood seedlings, why you are not taking a host trees. If he says already I have planted casuarina, I have planted mango, fine, give it. Make it a point to get this sandalwood seedlings distributed like this one. Otherwise, they may question in the writing that you have provided the sandalwood seedlings, but you have not told me about the host trees. You are responsible for my failure of the sandalwood plantation. People have been questioning it. That is why when you say this climate resilient forestry, it is not only confined to the Western Ghat, it confined to the whole of this Karnataka, even in the drier areas, even in the Malnad area, even in the transitional belt, even in the urban area also. For example, in the urban area like in the Bangalore or in the Mysore or wherever is there, whenever it rains, actually number of trees get uprooted. I asked my the BBMP Swami, he gave me a data about the last 10 years, which are the trees got uprooted. This is where actually what you call the data science and AI comes into the picture. The last 10 years, he said, so these are the tree species got uprooted. So most of them are actually exotic. They are not suited here. Why did you plant here? First of all, you should gain that one. You should go back to the data. This is very important. Last 10 years data, you look at the data, don't plant that. Now, how to don't plant that one? First, you regulate in the nurseries. Don't plant them in the nurseries. Don't raise them in the nursery. That is why actually regulating. Our methods, practices and concepts must be fine-tuned to this one at the finest level. And I must educate my nursery, the watcher, why I should not raise this. Otherwise, you would be growing only the tabobia, only the Samania trees. Instead of that, grow the alasu. grow the neradu. For example, halasu, why do you plant the halasu? Halasu from the leaf to the fruit and all parts of the actually the halasu is win-win situation. It provides a fodder in case of emergency, it provides fruits and it is a good timber. We have so many indigenous tree species there. That must be a part of our culture in the urban areas also. Otherwise, urban forestry is of late is getting a lot of importance. It is not only our traditional forestry, because all the people there in the city area, like in the conglomerate like Bangalore, they are all stressed up. We spend about 3 to 4 hours per a day in moving in the vehicle in the in a traffic congested area. You are mentally strained. At least in the weekend, the most of the people will transit the forest areas. So you keep your open areas in the urban areas, in the forest and everything, try to develop it as a tree parks, and there actually the more and more people will come to know the importance of the trees. The people actually have been hesitating there in the like cities like Mysore and Bangalore that any tree is cut, they come and get out this forest department. That is why where this modern forestry requires innovative ideas like our people have done it in 2019 and 18, translocation of the trees. So means they have translocated of 471 trees in the 2019. Out of this trees translocated, about 275 trees are there. Most of them are actually the ficus species. So now we are developing a methodology there. You see, out of the translocated trees in the past, identify the species which could be translocated. Now, instead of planting everything, you only plant those could be translocated in the urban area, because there will be a development you can't avoid. And in one of the districts, I felt very happy why young DFO convinced the district administration and MP and the district minister, road widening has to take place. There is no other go. There were 800 trees. In Ballari it has happened. He convinced that, see, I will allow widening in only one side. I will not allow road widening in the two sides. Thereby he saved 400 trees. Now, one step you have to go ahead. Out of these 400 trees which you are supposed to cut, out of these 400 trees, how many of them could be translocated? You identify them. Out of the 400, I can translocate 200 trees depending upon the girth and the species. You insist the user agencies that at your cost, I am going to translocate these grown up trees there in the open park, nature park. These are some of the solutions, and where as we move around the innovative ideas, there must be a sort of a local freedom, local operational options must be given to the forest officers also, and other department officer also is very important. And other thing is actually the agriculture department, vice chancellors is there, and Coimbatore University chancellor is also there. For example, Krishi Sinchana Yojana, this Prime Minister Krishi Sinchana Yojana is there. That is actually the farmers will be benefited by about up to 1 lakh rupees if they take up actually these sprinklers or the micro irrigations for growing the horticulture crop, for growing the sericulture crop. And in the dry lake area in this Gulbarga, now we are moving at the government. I said that when you are planting the horticulture trees, species or a silviculture or agriculture crops, there only will must give the seedlings. In case of Gulbarga and Tumukuru, or in case of Bijapur, if I provide seedlings after rising in the nursery, it's of no use. Only identify the farmers who have got an irrigation, like those beneficiaries which have got this Krishi Sinchana Yojana. You integrate this actually my RSPD to those farmers. Therefore, actually, trees will follow the horticulture crops. Trees will follow the sericulture crops. Trees will follow the actually where the agriculture is there. You must identify. And if you tour some of these areas in the Dharwad and these areas where the people have the gardens, there only the my teak trees are found, neem trees are found. So, mix of these things actually helps, and this sort of an actually codification, sort of a wisdom or a knowledge is required to implement this one. Now this is an era of the technology. You put your actually in the Google map, if you type this like actually the climate resilient forestry, you'll get all beautiful concepts. I need not have to tell. Maybe that AI will give you better ideas about what is resilient forestry, but that is a knowledge domain. Knowledge is not only enough. Wisdom is required. There's a sort of an experience is required, and wisdom is not alone, is not required. Having knowledge, having wisdom, combination of this one actually, you put into a action, that is actually is the most important. So at this stage, the action is most important at individual level, at the institution level, at the organization level, at the state level and community level. To integrated efforts only will give a sort of net results to have a climate resilient. We create an awareness to the communities. It is real, it is at our doorstep. The climate change is real, it is at our doorstep. It's not easy to face alone. The communities together, the governments together, departments together, and is possible. So with these few words, I am very happy, and I must also congratulate the Forestry College Dean and the University's Agricultural Sciences and my local forest departments having taken this particular topic. It is not that actually we have a solution at a go. It may take a time about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but the good beginning is always most important, and more seminars, workshop on this type of topics actually would help the communities are aware of this, what to be done. That is most important, and I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to share some of my ideas. And
Thank you, sir, for your insightful and thought-provoking address. Your perspectives have greatly enriched our understanding and set a strong foundation for the discussions ahead. In the heart of every great journey lies a moment that changes the course of the future and today. So, we are part of one such moment now. It gives me immense pleasure and pride to announce Kali Tiger Reserve and University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad. With this MOU, the roar of the wild meets the wisdom of science. Together, we embark on a path where field experience meets academic brilliance and where forests become classrooms. Foundation, Wildlife Tiger Reserve and University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad through College of Forestry, Sirsi, to foster collaboration and provide opportunities to experience and facilitate the advancement of knowledge based on reciprocity, best effort, mutual benefit, and frequent interaction. Joint research activities, including joint research projects in field of mutual interest. Exchange of scientific information, samples for investigation, academic publications and reports. Organization of joint symposia, workshops, lecturers, and conferences. I now request Dr. P.L. Patil and Shri Vasant Reddy to kindly come forward for the formal exchange of memorandum.
B.P. Ravi, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, and another Chief Guest on the dais, Dr. Sharath Anantmurthy, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Coimbatore University, Sri R. Ravi Shankar, Chief Conservator of Sri Vasant Reddy, Conservator of Forest, Canara Circle. Two important organizers, our Dean, College of Forestry, Sirsi, Dr. Vasudev, Dr. Ajaya, Deputy Conservator of Forest, Canara Circle. All the distinguished delegates from different parts of the state as well as country. Dear faculty from UAS Dharwad as well as UAHS Shivamogga, and also faculty belonging to the young, just born University of Mandya, the constituent college, Ponnampet. So I recognize Dean and alumni of this college and my student Dr. Devgiri. Also all the dear students from the College of Forestry, Sirsi, Shimoga as well as Ponnampet. Also all the officers from the Forest Department, members and also press and media. So I join with Sri B.P. Ravi in complimenting as well as congratulating both the organizations for conceptualizing this national symposium, that is building climate resilient forestry for ecosystem restoration, sustainable utilization and community prosperity, and organizing in the heart of Western Ghat and also the hotspot of biodiversity. So once again, compliments to each one of you for having organized this thoughtful national symposium. On this occasion, so it is also worth to note that you have involved our youngest generation, who are the future authorities and also custodians of this ecosystem, our proud graduates, postgraduates, and also the teachers who build their capacity in order to take further this ecosystem to combat climate resilience. And between these two, the great responsibility with the Forest Department and also NGOs. So with the blend of all these audience, so I think the different technical sessions, so which are thought for this 2 days symposium will be meaningful. So there are about 6 technical sessions which are planned for the 2 days national symposium. So wherein the different lead talks and also poster sessions are being organized. So hope the deliberations will be meaningful, and request all the chairman, co-chairman and organizers to record the proceedings and also the recommendations. So I request the recommendations should be of 2 to 3 types at least. Recommendations for the academic purpose, recommendations for the policy purpose, especially the policy implementer at the helm of the affairs. We have our proud alumni Sri B.P. Ravi. So for them, these recommendations will be very easy for them to implement. And also some of the policy interventions for further research in the forest ecosystem. At least if you draw these 3 types of the policy recommendations, I think so they will be most meaningful for the implementation at the institutions, for the implementation both academic as well as for research purpose, and also for the policy implications at the government level. So I request all the committee chairman and co-chairman to draw these 3 types of the policies, and at the end of the symposium we shall compile from all the sessions and submit to Government of Karnataka for their implementations. So in this the inaugural session, so I think nothing is left by B.P. Ravi. He has exhaustively covered with respect to the cause of climate resilience climate change which is we are witnessing, and day in and day out, and also continuously we are experiencing the climate change. And also to combat the climate change, he has suggested all the strategies. I think not left a single point. So I must appreciate him. Although he has studied in the forest ecosystem and he is the principal scientist in the forest department, he has not left eastern part of this country. And his main emphasis is that's what I also interested to indicate. So the forest ecosystem building should start from east to west. Already we have well developed forest ecosystem in the western part of the state, and we see most of the barren hillocks from east to west, at least from Raichur, Vijaypur, Bagalkot up to Dharwad. So if there is a massive tree plantations on the barren hillock, so definitely we can address the climate change issues. So we know which is first. It is very difficult to say rain is first or forest is first. So both are complementary and supplementary. So we should manage the rainfall as well as the forest ecosystem. Our first emphasis in addressing the climate change is conservation of our natural resources, both water as well as soil. They are most important part on this ecosystem, including the biodiversity. If you take care of these three, soil, water and biodiversity, so I think definitely we are addressing the climate change. So during this part of the year, we have very downpour and all the streams, rivers are full, and by the end of February or March, we don't have a drop of water for our wild animals to drink in the forest ecosystem. So I sincerely request the line departments to concentrate on conservation of soil and water, not only in the forest ecosystem and in the other areas from east to west in our state especially, so that whatever Sri B.P. Ravi dreamt upon, the building of the forest ecosystem from east to west, including the agroforestry system, can definitely will be achieved. So I think he has not left any part for me to address all of you. So he has taken care of everything. So once again, I request you to have wonderful 2 days in the heart of the Western Ghat ecosystem. Enjoy this ecosystem and also deliberate meaningfully, fruitfully, and bring out the logical conclusions for the policy interventions. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable and encouraging words. May I now cordially invite Dr. Sharath Ananthamurthy, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University, Shankaragatta, Shimoga, for the release of Compendium of Abstracts. To kindly join him on the stage as we mark this significant milestone together, symbolizing the collective commitment and shared efforts. My sincere thanks to all. It is with great pleasure that I invite Dr. Sharath Ananthamurthy, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University, Shankaragatta, Shimoga, to address the gathering.
dignitaries on the dais, Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Sri Ravi, other forest officers, Dr. Ajaya, Sri Ravi Shankar, Sri Vasant Reddy, whom I just learnt has been so helpful to Kuvempu University's efforts to get permissions from the forest. Dear Professor Vasudeva, whom I got to know so nicely when he attended our conference, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the UAS Dharwad, Dr. Patil. Dear participants, students. So I was a little puzzled that the reason why I got invited here, and I kept speculating, and of course we are a neighboring university, so that's possibly the reason, and it's only customary to include the heads of sister institutions close by. Or perhaps it was because we are also custodians of a very rich biodiverse area, which is the Badra Tiger Reserve, part of it at least. We don't always behave that way, but that's another story. But none of these were convincing. So I said, okay, well, they've invited me, so let me take advantage of this situation and educate myself, because I'm a physicist. I'm not a climate scientist, nor am I a biologist, nor am I a conservationist, although I'm interested in all of these. But it occurred to me that actually the problem that they intend addressing is not merely the preserve of a few forest scientists. It actually and must involve all kinds of people. As Mr. Ravi himself very aptly said, the message of climate change and its disastrous consequences must percolate down to the man on the road. And that needs to happen not just from the climate scientists and the experts in forestry, but teachers, elders, educators, panchayat members, and all diverse kinds of people. So as a physicist, I thought, what do I have to say here? So you know, as physicists, we all like numbers, and we like to do some arithmetic often on the side, and also a realization that the problem of climate change and the crisis, global warming, is such a multivariate problem. It's a problem that actually needs so many inputs from different disciplines. So, how do you go about this these days? You do something that everyone else does, which is to go to the god of artificial intelligence and ask the machine. And here I got some numbers, and I'd like to read them out to you. But with a caveat, I was also a little puzzled by the title, Building Climate Resilient Forestry. So I started wondering, is this about, see, because when you say something is resilient, what is understood in common parlance is that something is able to withstand the negative impacts of whatever. Okay, so climate change is the is the cause, and something has to be resilient to that. But this resilience also implies sometimes that despite the bad effect, these are able to withstand all of that and come through. But from Sri Ravi's talk, it occurred to me that this is not just resilience, this is also an active process. It's an active process of trying to mitigate global warming. So it's resilience plus fighting back in quotes. So here are the numbers. AI says that to offset global carbon dioxide emissions, and here I'm going to view this as a global phenomenon, because the carbon emission doesn't say, illa naan bari bharatadalli ulkottini bere kade hogalla anta. It's all over. It's diffusion is a natural phenomena. It goes globally. So you need, the emissions are about 53 gigatons. Okay, that was last year alone, and it's going up. It's going up for anthropic reasons, including Donald Trump. The world needs to completely, if you take the extreme case of mitigating this, it needs 4.8 billion hectares of forest. And given the average sequestration rates, which is about 11 tons of carbon dioxide per acre per year, okay, that's the average. If you divide one by the other, you would come up with the number of about 4.8 billion hectares, okay, which is 36% of the global land area. It's larger than the area of Africa. Now the habitable land is about 12.8 billion hectares, so that makes it actually 38% if you take habitable land. You can't grow forests everywhere, right? Common sense. So let's come to India. India has about 25% of forest plus tree cover, and only about roughly 22% of actual forest cover. But the alarming things are the following, that we've lost 100 million hectares in 20 years globally. And this includes massive Amazon rainforest deforestation. You can see, recently I saw some satellite pictures which were superimpositions over time, and you can see just the green vanish, vanish on this satellite map. Roughly, we need about 1.2 billion hectares to make up for 38% of the global CAR, but we are, in the best estimates, able to plant or recreate forests for only about 900 million hectares. So we are still falling short, falling severely short. But this is about mitigating and not completely taking away the excess carbon dioxide. So I think the numbers are somewhere in between. So that gives us hopes. It gives us hopes that actually all the kinds of programs that were alluded to earlier are meaningful. They are meaningful, but how do we go about this? There is the need to conserve our forests. Now ask any farmer in the Western Ghats about that report, and he'll spit fire. So it's a complex issue. It's a very complex issue. It's an issue that needs to involve social activists, economists. So you want to increase your agricultural output to solve hunger. But when you do that, this is at the cost of forest cover. If you don't, there are also other ways in which we are increasing global warming simply by certain unhealthy agricultural practices. So this really needs a multivariate analysis. And herein, as an educationist, I come to our own practices. And it is so sad that in India, despite all the talk that we have on the need to bring in a multidisciplinary approach, I would think that the College of Forestry needs to be hiring physicists, it needs to be hiring economists, it needs to be hiring social scientists, sociologists, who would all bring their brains together to address this issue. Right now, our specializations have siloed us into such, our hands are tied. Our hands are tied because we don't even have the ability to talk to each other. We don't know the language in which we can talk to each other. And when I say that, the language that helps you break these silos and go into a completely multidisciplinary approach to things. Because, and I read recently a very nice statement by Satyajit Mayer, who was formerly director of NCBS and now has been offered a very prestigious position in Warwick. And Satyajit says, he's a friend of mine, he says, nature doesn't talk about silos, Nature comes as nature. It's we who try to, look at it with our own interdisciplinary lenses. But that needs to change. And certainly on the issue of global warming and mitigating it through forest cover, we need to hold hands. We need to hold hands with forest scientists, economists, physicists who can do good modeling, who are good at numbers, mathematicians, and so on. So I hope in the future, the College of Forestry will become a multidisciplinary institution focused on the problems of forests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your insights have greatly enhanced our understanding and even enriched the discourse around the central theme of this symposium. I now have the honor to invite Sri R. Ravishankar, IFS Chief Conservator of Forests Development, to address the gathering.
Respected PCCF Sri B.P. Ravi, respected Dr. P.L. Patil, Vice Chancellor UAS Dharwad, Dr. Sharad Anand Murthy, the one and only physicist in this dais, Vice Chancellor of Kuampu University, respected Dr. R. Vasudev, Dean, College of Forestry, Sirsi, my dear colleagues on the dais, off the dais, distinguished delegates, and my dear student friends. It's my honor and privilege to speak few words about this National Symposium on building climate resilient forestry for ecosystem restoration, sustainable utilization, and community prosperity. At the outset, I would like to extend my warm gratitude to our academic partners, College of Forestry and our University of Agriculture Sciences, Dharwad, and their dedicated professionals. With their tireless efforts, today we have gathered here. And also, we are at the crucial juncture of everything what we are facing today, that is climate change or climate resilience. Means everyone is talking about the things, but yet to find out number of solutions to mitigate or adapt whatever we are facing. No, it's again, climate change is no longer a distant concern, but every day it is changing our forests, changing our landscapes, changing our lives, and so on and so forth. It's not only rising temperature or erratic rainfall, but also we have to bring some changes to tackle or mitigate or adapt whatever the things which we are facing nowadays. Earlier, for the past 2 decades, we tried our level best to avoid the usage of different pollutants, but now we are entering into the stage called nature-based solutions. I hope this nature-based solution will build the resilience and it will take us to the path forward. But we are proud to contribute our expertise in responsible forestry and practical field work. So responsible forestry and practical field work, as PCC have expressed, there are many things which are there in our hands, that those who are sitting in front of us, the younger generation, be it a scientist or the practitioners, those who are sitting, it is our job to develop an adaptability or adaptive management strategies to meet these challenges. I won't take much time about this theme and other things which we are going to deliberate for another 1.5 days, but Sirsi being the home to inspiring examples of community-led conservation, be it sacred groves or joint forest management or restoration activity in the Western Ghats, whatever we are doing the past 3 to 4 decades. But this reminds us the inclusive and the participatory approach also. At the very outset, I said that the participatory approach is one way of taking the adaptability for the climate change, which is indispensable nowadays. So without participatory approach, we will not be able to achieve anything in these forthcoming days. So before, at this juncture, I would like to say the few words of Dr. APJ Kalam. You have to dream before your dreams can come true. So let us dream boldly that resilient forests, revival of ecosystems, and making a prosperous communities, but at the same time mainstreaming the climatic considerations into every forestry decisions. And let us invest our time and energy in bringing out the nature-based solutions by way of research, innovation, and practicing it. And as Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University said, let us break the silos. Let all the faculties, irrespective of their domain, sit together and frame these things. Let us bring a scientific way of make an evidence-based policy paper which can be implemented by us in the future. So with this thing, I wish the symposium a great success and look forward for a rich deliberations, and the outcomes, let us inspire every one of us. With these few words, I wish everyone, the organizers, both the Canara Circle and also College of Forestry, let us move forward together and achieve the goal of climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are very grateful for your thoughtful and enlightening perspectives. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to invite Shri Vasant Reddy, IFS Conservator of Forests, Canara Circle, to grace us with the presidential address. We look forward to your visionary insights and profound leadership as we embark on this journey to enforce climate resilience and sustainable forestry.
Good morning to all the dignitaries, distinguished guests on the dais and off the dais, and all the academicians and student friends. Respected Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Shri B.P. Ravi sir, the proudest alumni of College of Forestry Sirsi, and who is heading the climate change cell at the state level, Dr. P.L. Patil sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of University of Agriculture Sciences Dharwad, Dr. Sharath Anantmurthy sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University Shivamogga, my colleague Dr. Ajaya, Sri Ravi Shankar sir, the CCF Development, and the Dr. Vasudeva, the Dean and the Professor, College of Forestry Sirsi, all my colleagues, teachers, and all the faculty members of College of Forestry Sirsi, students, delegates, scientists, academicians, and the press, and the colleagues of Forest Department. We are receiving high intensity rains in the month of May, just before the onset of monsoon. 244 millimeters of rains in just 4 hours, and we could see the big landslides, and the entire Kalache village is disturbed. Tree mortality is reality. Increased pests and diseases in forests. Shifting of tree line is being observed by the scientists in the forest ecosystems. Flash floods and associated landslides and climatic catastrophes are happening. The best examples are Wayanad, Shirur. These are all the examples which are before us. But everyone believes that climate change is happening. It is a reality. But unfortunately, most important person on earth is not believing that climate change is happening. Hope you understand who is that person. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to be part of this National Symposium on Climate Resilience Forestry for Ecosystem Restoration, Sustainable Utilization, and Community Prosperity, which is being held at the Sirsi, which is not only scenic, but also very symbolic for the process of the conservation, which is again heart of the Central Western Ghats. And Western Ghats, we all know that it is considered as one of the hottest of hotspots of biodiversity, with home to countless species of endemic species and rich traditional knowledge of the forest conservation. It is also a living example of how forests, people, and climate are deeply interconnected. We all know that forests are more than just reservoirs of biodiversity. They are very, very important reservoirs of ecosystem services. The former Secretary General of United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, has explained in a quote, "Climate change does not respect borders. It does not respect who you are, rich and poor, small and big. Therefore, this is what we call global challenges which require global solidarity." With those quotes of the former United Secretary General, the Government of India and Government of Karnataka has also taken up a lot of steps with respect to the mitigation and adaptation of climate change at national level, at also at the local level. The best example is the National Mission for Green India, state action plans on climate change, forest fire management plans, in fact, which is spearheaded by Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, agroforestry and climate smart forestry, where integration of trees with farming systems to enhance productivity and resilience is being focused. In addition to that, the government has also taken up a lot of afforestation and reforestation programs, mangrove afforestation to enhance the coastal resilience, involvement of communities through JFPM approach, compensatory afforestation in lieu of the forest diversions because of developments, whatever is happening. And also I must I must mention the Honorable Supreme Court in a series of its judgments. It has emphasized on the very, very important solutions for the climate change. Shri B.P. Ravi sir, the inaugurator of this today's symposium, who is the PCC of EWPRT and climate change, who has vast experience in forest management, wildlife management, and also the management of environment. And right now he is heading at the policy level, emphasized and provided the strategies for climate change mitigation and as well as adaptation. In fact, I would like to enlist for the benefit of the audience the major strategies which the sir has emphasized. One is the holding on to the existing natural ecosystems. That is the most important strategy, which is the first on his list. Second is management of the forest fires, especially in Uttara Kannada district, which is again of late witnessing a lot of incidents of forest fires. And conversion of the monocultures to the mixed forests. That is again the endeavor of the department, and which is we are emphasizing this factor in our the working plans. And also the resilience of coastal areas by taking up the mangrove afforestation as well as the shelter belts, and also harvesting of the old mature trees in order to encourage the boost the growth of the younger individuals to capture more of carbon sequestration. Also stressed on the policy interventions, especially he elaborated on the sandal policy, how it helped in raising massive afforestation programs in the driest parts of Karnataka. And also the management of critical areas, critical habitats like myristica swamps, mangroves, and also emphasized on the local species afforestation programs. In fact, these are all the, I mean to say, would be the major strategy of the strategies for the mitigation of climate in days to come, and which are really practical, the local solutions for the major global problems. Honorable Vice Chancellor UAS Dharwad stressed the, in fact, he has given us a task of giving proper recommendations at institution level, at policy level, and also at further research at institution level. So I hope the symposium will provide those recommendations in 2 days, so that these task of building climate resilience forestry can be taken up at both institution at policy level. And also sir stressed on the need of conservation of natural resources, especially the soil, water and air, which are very, very essential for any human being or any other creature on earth. And Honorable Vice Chancellor also stressed on the need of the aware communities with respect to the climate change. And also sir elaborated on deforestation, which is happening at massive scale, and stressed on the need of multidisciplinary approach. So they are the very, very important with respect to understanding the climate change. And the CCF development stressed on the impacts of climate change, and also he elaborated on the nature-based solutions for climate change, what we are witnessing. Friends, and all the academicians and dignitaries in the symposium, this is a great opportunity to interact, to find the science-based, nature-based solutions for the problem of climate change. When science and management get together and work on any problem, the solutions are really, they are practical and they are the more scientific in nature. So your ideas, the experience and energy of all the audience and the delegates, academicians, scientists sitting here would be great inspiration, and I hope this symposium would be grand success. As the, with the words of the former President of America, Barack Obama, we are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change, and the last generation that can do something about it. With those quote, hope the mitigation and adaptation of climate change, so we are the best persons to decide, and we can take local solutions for the global problem. With those words, Sir Dr. Vasudeva, and also his team, as well as Dr. Ajaya for his team, as well as Dr. Ajaya for spearheading the whole preparation of this symposium. I hope these 2 days deliberations on the most important topic, most burning topic of the earth, there would be a lot of solutions in 2 days to come for the both institutions as well as for the policy level. With those words.
To conclude, today's procedure is Sirsi to deliver the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished scientists, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's my pleasant duty to offer vote of thanks to the wonderful morning session. In fact, this is a historic day because of 3 reasons. Number 1, sir, we have a conglomeration of scientists from all over the country, including economists, physicists, and biologists. First time we are witnessing such a large gathering, over 100 abstracts submitted and more than 120 kind of registrations done. Secondly, we had an exchange of MOU to further strengthen and make it our collaboration more multidisciplinary. And thirdly, because of the wonderful morning that you are all here, I take this opportunity to first of all thank Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, BP Ravi sir, who is a proud alumni of our college, for having come over here and enlightened us about his thoughts about the climate resilient forestry. As a token of our love and respect, we would like to offer you a small memento and a shawl. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. P.L. Patil sir, to kindly do the honor. Thank you very much, sir. Now I will request Sri Ravi Shankar, IFS, to kindly come onto the dais and provide a small memento and a small gift to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. P.L. Patil, sir. We had a wonderful talk by the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu, Dr. Sharath Ananthamurthy. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Despite your very busy schedule, you have been able to. Yes, sir. I would like to request Dr. Honorable P.L. Patil, sir, to kindly honor him. I request Dr. A.G. Koppat to come onto the dais and honor Sri R. Ravi Shankar, Chief Conservator of Forests. Thank you very much, sir, for having come over here and sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Inamati, Professor and Head of SAF Department, to kindly come out of the dais and honor the engine of this particular symposium, Sri Vasant Reddy, sir.
you very much, sir. You have taken pains to day and night work for more than 15 days to make this a reality. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I also offer a vote of thanks to all the delegates who have come from far and away places like I said, Pune, NCBS, and Bangalore, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, from different states, and all the chairmen and co-chairmen who have been, consented to become the chairman despite a very last moment notice. And I welcome you all back to this particular hall after this meeting after big tea. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now there will be felicitation to our Dean, Professor R. Vasudeva sir by Vasant Reddy sir. Thank you, sir, for your heartfelt and comprehensive vote of thanks. We truly appreciate your profound thought and the support extended by the college for this symposium. Thank you all for being with us today, and I kindly invite you to join for the tea break and look forward for the continued discussions after the refreshed and rejuvenated break. Thank you all.
Hello.
ಕರ್ಸೆಕಾನು, ಸಂಪಾನೆ, ಮಾಸ್ತಿಗುಳಿ ಇವು ಕೆಲ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗಳಾಗಿವೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಜೀವ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಪರಿಸರದ ಸಮತೋಲನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತವೆ. ನೀರು, ಜೀವ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆ, ಔಷಧೀಯ ಸಸ್ಯಗಳು ಆಮ್ಲಜನಕವನ್ನು ನೀಡುವುದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದ ಇಂಗಾಲದ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ನೆರೆ ಹಾವಳಿಗಳಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಅತಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಳೆ ಬೀಳುವ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡುಬರುವ ಈ ಕಾಡುಗಳು ಮಳೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುರಿಯುವ ನೀರನ್ನು ಸ್ಪಂಜಿನಂತೆ ಹೀರಿಕೊಂಡು ಮಳೆ ನಿಂತ ಮೇಲೂ ಸಹ ನಿಧಾನವಾಗಿ ನೀರನ್ನು ಹರಿಸುತ್ತವೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ವರ್ಷವಿಡೀ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ತೇವವಾಗಿರುತ್ತವೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಸದಾ ಶುದ್ಧ ನೀರಿನಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿದ ಜೌಗು ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಾಗಿವೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲಿನ ನದಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀರಿನ ಮೂಲಗಳಾಗಿವೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಅನೇಕ ಜಾತಿಯ ಸ್ಥಳೀಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಳಿವಿನ ಅಂಚಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಸಸ್ಯ, ಪ್ರಾಣಿ, ಸರೀಸೃಪ, ಉಭಯವಾಸಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕ್ರಿಮಿಕೀಟ ಮತ್ತು ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಶ್ರಯ ತಾಣವಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಳಿವಿನ ಅಂಚಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಅನೇಕ ಸಸ್ಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪ್ರಭೇದಗಳು ಕಾಣಸಿಗುವುದು ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ವಿಶೇಷತೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಅಲ್ಪಾವರಣದ ವಾಯುಗುಣವನ್ನು ಅಂದರೆ ಯೂನಿಕ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿವೆ. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿನ ಹವಾಮಾನ ಮತ್ತು ವಾತಾವರಣ ಇತರೆ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ಭಿನ್ನವಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಸದಾ ನೀರನ್ನು ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮದೇ ಆದ ವಾಯುಗುಣವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುವುದರಿಂದ ಬೇಸಿಗೆಯ ಧಗೆಯನ್ನು ತಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲಿನ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಅರಣ್ಯಗಳ ವಿಶೇಷತೆಯನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ನೈಸರ್ಗಿಕ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಅರಿತ ಮೇಲೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಾದ್ಯಂತ ಗುರುತಿಸುವ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕಮಗಳೂರು, ಸಕಲೇಶಪುರ, ಕೊಪ್ಪ, ಹೊಸನಗರ ಹಾಗೂ ಕುದುರೆಮುಖ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಗುರುತಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಸಿಗುವ ಮರಗಳ ಬೇರುಗಳು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸ ಹೊಂದಿವೆ. ಈ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಸದಾಕಾಲ ನೀರಿನಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿರುವ ಕಾರಣ ಮರದ ಬೇರುಗಳು ಉಸಿರಾಡಲು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸ್ಥಳಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಹೊಂದಿಕೊಂಡು ಬೇರುಗಳನ್ನು ನೆಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ 1 ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚಾಚಿದ್ದು ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ನೀ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಂದು ಕರೆಯಲ್ಪಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಜಿಮ್ನಾಕ್ರ್ಯಾಂಥೆರಾ ಕ್ಯಾನಾರಿಕಾ. ಮಳೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ರಭಸದಿಂದ ನೀರು ಹರಿಯುವ ಕಾರಣ ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮರಗಳು ಬಿಗಿಯಾಗಿ ದೃಢವಾಗಿ ನಿಂತುಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಭೂಮಿಯ ಮೇಲೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಸದಾಕಾಲ ನೀರು ಹರಿಯುವ ಜೌಗು ಸ್ಥಳಗಳನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಎಂದು ನಮೂದಿಸಿದ್ದು ಅವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸ್ಥಳಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊಂದಿಕೊಂಡಿರುವಂತಹ ಸ್ಥಳೀಯ ಅಂದರೆ ಎಂಡಮಿಕ್ ಅಳಿವಿನಂಚಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಸಸ್ಯ ಪ್ರಭೇದಗಳಾದ ಜಿಮ್ನಾಕ್ರ್ಯಾಂಥೆರಾ ಕ್ಯಾನಾರಿಕಾ, ಮ್ಯಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸಿಯಾ ಎರೋಬೋರಿಯಾ, 56 ಜಾತಿಯ ಉಭಯವಾಸಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ 14 ಜಾತಿಯ ಮೀನುಗಳು, 281 ಜಾತಿಯ ಕೀಟಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಇತರೆ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಜೀವಿಗಳ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಹಲವಾರು ವರದಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮೂದಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ನಿಸರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷತೆ ಏನೆಂದರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಹೊಂದಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾದ ಪರಸ್ಪರ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತವೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಮಲಬಾರ್ ಪೈಡ್ ಹಾರ್ನ್ಬಿಲ್ ಜಾತಿಯ ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳು, ಫಿಲೋನ್ಯೂರಾ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಮನಿ ಜಾತಿಯ ಕೀಟಗಳು, ಲಯನ್ ಟೈಲ್ಡ್ ಮಕಾಕ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿಂಗಳಿಕ ರೀತಿಯ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು ಈ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿದ್ದು ಅವುಗಳು ಆವಾಸ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಮಪತ್ರೆ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಬಹು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನು ವಹಿಸುತ್ತವೆ. ಈ ಮರಗಳ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡುವ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಇಲಾಖೆ, ಅರಣ್ಯ ಮಹಾವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಕಾಲೇಜು, ಶಿರಸಿ ಮತ್ತು ಕೆಲವು ಸರ್ಕಾರೇತರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಹಲವಾರು ಆಯಾಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಸಸ್ಯಗಳು, ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ವನ್ಯಜೀವಿಗಳ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಇನ್ವೆಂಟರಿ ಮಾಡಿದ ವರದಿಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವುಗಳ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಪುನಶ್ಚೇತನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಳ್ಳಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಒಳಗೊಂಡಂತೆ ಶರಾವತಿ ವ್ಯಾಲಿ LTM ಸ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಚುಯರಿ ಎಂದು 1972ರ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಘೋಷಣೆಯಾಗಿದೆ. ಸಿಂಗಳೀಕಗಳು ಈ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡುಬರುವ ಬಹುಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಫ್ಲ್ಯಾಗ್ಶಿಪ್ ಸ್ಪೀಷೀಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಇಂತಹ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಸಿಂಗಳೀಕಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸಲು ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ರಾಮಪತ್ರೆ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸುವುದು ಬಹುಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ತಿಳಿದುಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಹಾಗೂ ಇವುಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸಲು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಅನೇಕ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳು ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಿವೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳ ಮೇಲಿನ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಅವಲಂಬನೆ ಹೊಸದೇನಲ್ಲ. ತಲೆತಲಾಂತರಗಳಿಂದ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಹಾಗೂ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮರಮಟ್ಟುಗಳ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಣೆಗಾಗಿ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಹವಾಮಾನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ, ಮಳೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ವೈಪರೀತ್ಯ, ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡಲು ಕಾಡುಗಳನ್ನು ಕಡಿಯುವುದು, ಹೆಚ್ಚುತ್ತಿರುವ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳ ಆವೃತ್ತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ದಿನೇ ದಿನೇ ಕ್ಷೀಣಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ಮೊದಲು ಒಂದು ಸರಪಳಿಯಂತೆ ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಇದ್ದವು. ಅತಿಯಾದ ಮಾನವ ನಿರ್ಮಿತ ಒತ್ತಡದಿಂದ ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇವುಗಳು ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ತುಣುಕುಗಳಾಗಿ ಮಾರ್ಪಾಡು ಹೊಂದಿವೆ ಹಾಗೂ ನಶಿಸುವ ಅಂಚಿನಲ್ಲಿವೆ. ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಕೇವಲ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಇಲಾಖೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾತ್ರವಲ್ಲದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಜನರ ಸಹಕಾರ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅರಣ್ಯ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಸ್ಥಳೀಯ ಜನ ಸಮುದಾಯಗಳು ಒಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಈ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸುವ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತಿವೆ. ಈ ಮಿರಿಸ್ಟಿಕಾ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರುವುದು ಒಂದು ವರ. ಇವುಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹಾಗೂ ಬೆಳೆಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವುದು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ. ಈಗ ಉಳಿದಿರುವ ಜಡ್ಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಂದಿನ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗಾಗಿ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸುವ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಮೇಲಿದೆ.
ಬಂತು ಬಂತು ಬೇಸಿಗೆ ಈ ನಾಡಿಗೆ, ಬರಲಿ ಬರಲಿ ಮಳೆಯು ಈ ಕಾಡಿಗೆ, ಬರಲಿ ಬರಲಿ ಮಳೆಯು ಈ ಕಾಡಿಗೆ, ತಣಿಸಲು ಜೀವ ಕಳೆ ಬೆಳೆಸಲು ಕಾಡು ಬೆಳೆ, ತಣಿಸಲು ಜೀವ ಕಳೆ ಬೆಳೆಸಲು ಕಾಡು ಬೆಳೆ, ಹರಿಸಲು ಜೇನ ಹೊಳೆ ಬರಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೂಮಳೆ, ಹರಿಸಲು ಜೇನ ಹೊಳೆ ಬರಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೂಮಳೆ, ಬರಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೂಮಳೆ. ಸಪ ಮ ಪ ನಿ ಪ ಮಗ ಮಗ ಸ ನಿ ಸ, ಸಪ ಮ ಪ ನಿ ಪ ಮಗ ಮಗ, ಸಪ ಮ ಪ ನಿ ಪ ಮಗ ಮಗ ಸ ನಿ ಸ ಪ ನಿ ಸ ನಿ ಸ ಗ ಮಗ ಮ ಪ ಗ ಮ ಪ ನಿ ಸ. ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿಯ ಶ್ಯಾಮಲ, ಗಂಧ ಗಾಳಿಯ ನಿತ್ಯ ನೂತನ ಕೋಮಲ, ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿಯ ಶ್ಯಾಮಲ, ಗಂಧ ಗಾಳಿಯ ನಿತ್ಯ ನೂತನ ಕೋಮಲ, ಅಳಿದು ಹೋಗಲಿ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಬಿರುಗಾಳಿ ಬೀಸಿ ಬರಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಳೆಗಾಳಿ.
temperature, and the right one is the rainfall. So I still remember when I first read this paper, I was really happy because some of the areas in dry zone areas of India where in Maharashtra and northern part of Karnataka can receive highest rainfall. The rainfall will increase. So that I still remember when I first saw this map, first saw this paper, I was really happy about that because at least the climate change is going to help us in Indian subcontinent. But that is not the case. So this was expected to increase the change the forest types. So basically some of them are the evergreen forests are increasing, and so the diversity is changing across the years. So these are all, and one of the first predictions was like shola forests are going to reduce, and the more and more forest cover will increase in Western Ghats region. But none of them happened. Like what we received is an extreme rainfall events. So earlier it was expected to have increase in rainfall. We have the rainfall, but that actually resulted in extreme rainfall events. If you see the map where we have been seeing a lot of extreme rainfall events, the rainfall within a day, within a couple of minutes, there is a huge amount of rainfall. That's what is happening over these years. And this is map shows couple of events, extreme rainfall events over these years. So the results we already know. There are when we receive the extreme rainfall events, that results in landslides and also couple of other extreme events. So so to understand that, what is going to happen to our forest in our region, so we did a part of a collaborative research with ISER Pune, Leeds University, and couple of other NCBS and couple of other institutes at our place in near Sirsi. It's about 20 kilometers from this place. So we have a couple of facilities where to understand the climate change impacts on tropical forests as well as agriculture crops. So this is one of the event way back in 2021 where we received about 600 millimeter of rainfall within a day. So here we can see that and also those kind of extreme rainfall events are repeating over these years, and that is resulting in flooding of the areas, and so and also landslides and all that. So I think a couple of presentations will be there in later part of this about the landslides and all that. So what we found is, like, from last 100 years of data from the secondary data, the last 15 years we have seen a change of about 1 degree, 0.8 to 1 degree increase in the temperature. This is the extrapolated data from our farm. It's about 20 kilometers from here, and imagine in other places. So, and also we are experiencing extreme rainfall temperatures which goes up to like 40 degrees and above 40 degrees in some of the years. So these are the data from last couple of years that the temperature is increasing. And in our farm, like there is an increase in the temperature, and so we wanted to check what is that mean to us. So as a result of that, we recently published a paper which is shows that there are a couple of species, though some of them are agricultural land species in our farm, and there are a couple of forestry species are also there. So basically the T5 and T50 are the temperature limits of the plants. Some temperatures, the last couple of years we are experiencing 42 degrees and all that. So some of them are already experiencing those kind of things. So I think our next presenter, Ronson, will explain more about these kind of information. The leaf temperature is actually hitting these extreme temperatures limits actually. So if we have that kind of temperatures, couple of more days, we may lose some of the trees permanently. So, and also there is an alarming news from the research that we conducted in our region, that if you see this is the leaf temperature, and this one is a photosynthesis, CO2 simulation, and there is a reverse trend actually. After 30 degrees centigrade is the optimal temperature for photosynthesis, and if the temperature increases, photosynthesis rate is also decreasing. So these are all some of the forest species are now in our region, so which are from Terminalia paniculata, chabula, and all those things, so which are on the deciduous species, and some of them are deciduous species, evergreen species. Like there is so if you see these lower side, as the temperature goes beyond 30 degrees, 35 degrees, the photosynthesis capacity itself is decreasing. So this is an alarming for all of us, like because the temperature, as the temperature increases, the capacity of the plant to do the photosynthesis itself decreasing. So we need to think about that in future. So this is the preliminary result that we have been observing from last 2 years. We are to publish this data. We are going to publish it shortly. So, so what is the solution then? So there are a lot of solutions where mitigation, adaptations, and all those things that are globally talked about. But as a farmer, as a people living in these Western Ghats, is there a way out? Like how can we do that? So for that, what we have been trying to understand is the only options that as the local person we can just think about the understanding the microclimate of those some of the species, because as we know from the first graph, there's a temperature is going to increase about 5 to 15 degrees, so we need to, so so we have what is microclimate? Microclimate is basically the soil temperature, soil moisture, and air temperature, basically the Panchabhutas what we call it. So all of them, how they are impacting on the plant species. So we try to understand the microclimate for these ecosystems and species. So basically solar radiation, soil moisture, soil temperature, air temperature, humidity, and wind direction and speed. So these are all the parameters which we try to understand how these are impacting. So we have loggers across the landscape. So this is an undulating landscape. So we have put the loggers across the landscape in top of the hill, edges, and in the valleys. So these are basically microclimate loggers, basically giving us 3 temperatures and soil moisture. So what we found is an interesting thing. So the soil temperature is actually much lower than the surface temperature. So the surfaces are increasing in temperatures, and soil temperature is playing a major role in germination, survival of the trees, and all that. So if you, all the climate models for this, say, depend on the weather station data. So basically weather stations are kept outside the area. So but what is happening inside the forest is we don't know. Like this is the, because there's the temperature outside the weather station, like the collected from the weather station and
ma pa ni pa ma ga sa ni sa pa pa ma pa ni pa ma ga sa pa ma pa ni pa ma ga sa ni pa ni sa ga ma pa ni sa. ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಸಸ್ಯ ಕಾಶಿಯ ಶ್ಯಾಮಲ ಗಂಧ ಗಾಳಿಯ ನಿತ್ಯ ನೂತನ.
So I think need to, understand that. So we need to define the microclimate and all that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next speaker.
And if you look at the tropics, the number of colored patches are pretty big. And if the red patch indicates the most recent droughts, so that has been happening over the past 10 decades. And you'd see there are so many red Australia, the northern parts of Australia, which are still tropical forests, are experiencing a lot of these drought events. And where I, as an ecophysiologist, where I'm interested in is trying to step into these sites and trying to figure out how is it that these forests respond to this or to these extreme drought events. Now, just to give you context here, even in India, though Balachandra Hegde was talking about how the rainfall is going to there isn't a huge lot of clarity on this, but some of the factors that we've figured out response to this is the xylem size, the xylem diameter. The smaller the diameter seems to be correlated with more resistant to embolism. Another dimension that is now more understood is the thickness of the wall and also the pit membrane, the pit size. So the smaller the pit size, the bigger the pit size, the easier it is for these bubbles to form. So the smaller it is, the more it can resist these bubbles from forming. So these are some features that seems to be related to embolism, but it's not extremely clear what the defining factors are.
There will be a lot of interspecific, intraspecific variation for this?
Yes, yes. So this is, it's a very important point that you're raising. That is, what Dr. Vasudev is asking is within species, is there a lot of difference in these kind of features? In fact, it's very understudied. We really don't appreciate how much of this variation exists. But I, for instance, tried to measure these P50 values for for Nigdale, which is the northern western Ghats tip, and also for some species in Valpare, which is down south. And for the common species itself, I can see big differences. But I can also say that, you know, it differs across species. There are some species which has remained flat. So for instance, Terminalia chebula seems to have huge difference. So there isn't much clarity on what determines intraspecific variation. But yeah.
Thanks for that very illuminating talk. Just a couple of things. Your curve that you show, is that sort of universal in the sense that that one? It seems to have a sharp rise and then sort of tapers off, right? But I would suspect that that's also a function of the so-called xylem. Is that what you call
That's
it?
right.
A conducting tube.
Yes.
So it could be having something to do with the diameter of the xylem tube. Or across all diameters, do you see that kind of curve?
Yes.
Have you looked at it?
Yes, yes. So this is pretty well established in the field that irrespective of the xylem size, you do see a response curve, which is essentially, initially, there will be no air bubble formation even with little bit of drying. But as the drying increases, the number of air bubbles will keep on increasing, and hence the conductivity will keep on decreasing. And at some point, it will saturate off, which is even if more air bubbles form, or even if more drying happens, the conductivity is almost completely lost, or it hits 100%. So it's a pretty standard response curve. What changes, to your point, is that as the xylem size, for instance, changes, the shape of the curve changes. So it sort of shifts towards the left. That's what you see.
Oh, yeah, but it pretty much stays that way.
Yes, it's a pretty standard response curve.
It's actually a hydrodynamic problem.
It is a yes.
So,
Ron, it was excellent presentation. I have a small question. Is, the conductance pattern is related with only the xylem, the physical properties, or is it linked to any kind of, the protein mechanisms or the systems, like, HSPs, heat shock proteins. So similarly, drought shock proteins. Do you find any studies, that link to this, the biochemical metabolism?
So here right now in this particular case, which is xylem conductance, it is purely, it actually fundamentally comes down to the physics of water flow through a pipe. So there isn't much protein play over here. But nevertheless, to add to your point, as the plant dries, there are certain ways in which you can sort of prevent drying by increasing your solute concentration inside the cell. So osmolytes are produced. So there's a lot of prolines that are being produced inside the leaf tissues, which prevents the sudden decrease of water potential by just increasing solute concentration. So there are ways like that in which you can delay drying from happening, but that doesn't directly contribute to this xylem conductance, because this is a purely physics of water flow through pipes.
Yeah. I think it was wonderful, actually. So I have two questions and one addition to make. The question here is, what you basically spoke about is the response of the trees in terms of embolism, where there is an increase in the temperature level, basically. How does this embolism behave when there is a high humidity and water into the atmosphere is also equally high, temperature, air, and the humidity of that particular area, if three are taken into consideration, how does the symbolism behave? Question number one. Number two is, these microclimatic change not only impacting on the diversity of plant communities and the animal, but also they are leading to something called shift in ecological base. Okay, is this embolism also can be considered as an indicator to understand how this ecological shift happening from places to places? Is question number two. The addition to that, I wanted to know, add to this is, of course, India, we do not have so much of, long-term monitoring plots. Perhaps I think NCBS, and currently, just about 2-3 months, I do my PhD in QMP University. NCBS and our department has actually collaborated in creating a plot for long-term monitoring. How do you actually see, these kind of a collaboration within the research institution in order to take these kind of a long-term areas for a microclimatic change, and how does that will determine and help the foresters managing the forest in the event of the ecological shift, in the ecological base shift?
Right, yeah, very interesting series of questions. So I'm going to keep it really short for each of them in the interest of time, and then I'll be very happy to talk about it more later. In terms of the air, so here I was talking about when drought happens, and I was primarily saying, when the soil water content reduces, say rain stops and there's a delay in the next rain and the soil is drying out. But you rightly pointed out that the air deficit is also an important factor. And in fact, what is causing most of the drying, just pulling out of the water from the top, is the air drying. And so that's a very crucial factor. And as the air becomes drier, which there are two factors, one is the temperature, increasing temperature and decreasing RH. So with these two things, this vapor pressure deficit increases and suction happens. So it's a crucial point that actually leads to some embolism. With respect to your second question, which was, I already forgot.
How does this determine the ecological
ecological niche shifts. Yeah. So we have very few, almost no work in India, but there is a nice study. There are a bunch of studies in Amazon and Africa, and for instance, is one nice study in the Congo Basin that shows that again, through a long-term ecological monitoring plot, they show that over a span of 30 years, the dry affiliated species have been increasing, and the wet affiliated species in dominance are just decreasing, right? And they can see this nice pattern already in a span of just 30 years, where frequency of drought has also increased. And this they're able to map to xylem embolism as well. They're able to show that the dry affiliated species are increasing because they have more resistant embolisms, resistance to embolism. In terms of where we can sort of step in here, I think even in that global map, when I showed all those data points, that was sort of the first step, which is just to characterize how are our species just physiologically able to deal with drought, right? Because just visually it doesn't, so for instance, say Balu, who was the previous speaker, and if you look at us, he's clearly thinner, I look fit, or at least I think I look fit, right? So if both of us go for a trek, you would think that I will be able to sustain the trek, but I've trekked with Balu, and I know for sure 20 minutes into the trek, I will already be on the floor, and Balu can keep going for a year. So what you essentially need to know is you need to measure his physiological performance and my physiological performance, and not just visually estimate how these performances are going to be. So so it'll be nice because India has this beautiful Western Ghats, which varies a lot in rainfall pattern, and has this diverse kinds of forests. We can actually just go around figuring out dominant species, how vulnerable they are. And that is the first level, that ground level of just measurements, which is important to make predictions for the future. Yeah. What is the kind of sample I'm taking? What is the measurements that I do? So the kind of sample, so ideally, the best way to do such kind of experiments is to sort of simulate drought in a patch of forest, right? You put a rain shelter and prevent water from coming, but that's practically not possible. So the smart way around it is to take a branch, which is about 1 meter length, sort of represents the stem and the leaf. A branch from the tree and subject the branch to drying. And we have this really neat experiment, a neat machine that can actually suck the air out of the branch and measure the amount of air. So as the branch is drying, I keep measuring what the water state is, or what the water potential is, and I simultaneously measure how much of air is there. And I keep doing this as the branch dries. So, and then I plot the data and I get these response curves. Yeah. But there are multiple ways to do it. This is one way in which it can be done. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anmadi. ಇದು ಬರ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? Respected chair of the session and co-chair, and another co-chair is not there. It's here. All the dignitaries, delegates, and dear colleagues and friends. Coming to the a bit of science and bit of management, building climate resilient mangrove ecosystems for the shoreline protection. And both science is also there, and lot of management what Forest Department is taking out in coastal areas is being will be discussed now. Where I should show? Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about mangrove forest, it's one perceives a forest of jagged and all trees protruding from sea, especially in the estuary areas. So where land and sea intervene, or where actually the rivers join the sea, those places we could see the lot of mangroves. And in fact, the both marine biologists and lot of marine biologists are here actually. So marine biologists and both forest ecologists, both are interested in studying of mangroves and those ecosystems. So they are salt water resistance, so that we all know, and they are most productive areas, especially in the ecosystems with respect to the carbon sequestration and also the fertility status. They are most productive, and they are again very fragile ecosystems that we have witnessed in especially Karwar coast, where when the fresh water doesn't enter into the especially the mangroves, they dry actually. They dry and they die. And they too provide lot of tangible and intangible benefits to the mankind. And they have got lot of adaptations, especially diverse root systems, and also they have got the viviparous germination. So in the Karnataka coast, almost 320 kilometers of length is the coast length, where we have got 3 districts which are operating, where we have a lot of estuaries. So there are 5 estuaries in Uttara Kannada district, and 4 estuaries in Udupi district, and 2 estuaries in Mangalore district, that is Dakshina Kannada district. So where the rivers actually join the sea. So as per the Indian State of Forest Service survey report by the Forest Survey of India 2023, almost 14.20 square kilometers of the area is under mangroves. So again, we have a lot of deliberations. So I don't agree with the exact data, because they have left out a lot of areas which are under mangroves. And as per the CMFRI studies, almost 15.3% of marine biodiversity is present in these estuaries, and almost 320 marine species which are associated with the marine fish species which are associated with the mangrove species. So there are, in Karnataka coast we have 14 species of true mangroves and 32 species of the associated species which are there in the estuaries. Some of the studies by the earlier studies by CMFRI and also by the IASC, estuary wise there are a distribution of different species. So coming to the restorations. So as we know that mangroves are very, very important for the shoreline protection and also for the management of the estuary per se. I mean to say before 2000 there was not much importance given to the mangrove as such, and especially post tsunami 2005. So a lot of thrust and importance was given to both by Government of India as well as Government of Karnataka for the conservation and management of mangroves. And the first of the process was started with the mangrove restoration, where a lot of afforestation and reforestation of mangroves was taken up in our estuaries. It's one of the most difficult tasks actually, but which was taken up by both Forest Department as well as even other agencies in the coastal areas. So, but per se, mangroves, even though we have very small area representing, the mangroves compared to the other states of the country, a lot of threats are there in our coast. So, because of the highest population density in the coastal areas and also a lot of urbanization happening, so there is a lot of pressure on these mangrove ecosystems. Like most important is land status. They are not reserve forests. They are not notified forest areas. They are actually no man's land. There are no survey numbers. Their mangroves are there. And who has to own it, who has to protect it, that is one of the most important fundamental ownership and management issue. Second thing is the encroachment, especially for the coastal industries, and then lot of developmental activities are happening because there is sea, there is coast, there is estuary, and then we have got upguards and reserve forest areas. So reserve forest areas are no-go areas, especially for the development. Lot of processes are involved. That's why there is a lot of pressure on these coastal ecosystems. And sand mining, it is continuous with lot of NGT orders and other things, but still it's a major threat. Apart from that, the livelihood needs, especially fuel wood collection and also even dumping of tiles. And I mean to say, sea and coasts have become major threat because of these developmental activities. And with this background, Karnataka state government took up the major initiative in the year 2023 with the, I mean to say, enactment of eco budget scheme for the, restoration of mangroves in coastal areas and also even shelter belts and also river rejuvenation of Varda River and also the management of landslides. So these 4 initiatives were taken up by Honorable CM in his budget speech of 2023, and with that we started a program called as Eco Budget in our coast areas. Apart from that, the Government of India took up the MISTI programs, and then taken up the National Cyclone Mitigation Plan, where mangroves, the rejuvenation of mangroves is a thrust area in case of disaster management also. So both IASC Bangalore and also NITK Surathkal, they have identified a lot of potential areas for mangrove rejuvenation and restoration. So all the brown areas, the brown color indicates the potential areas for mangroves, so which can be taken up by the Forest Department so that those shores can be protected. So I mean to say, in the year 2016-17, we had both forestry college students as well as the department together. We took up the afforestation in 1 hour coast. So it's images of 2017, and it's very well regenerated and restored. So in another study in Kali estuary and Agnashni estuaries were mapped over the years using the GIS maps. So compared to the 2002, 2012 and 2022, there is an increase in, substantial increase in mangrove areas. Almost there is increase of, 8 square kilometers as of now in case of Kali estuary, and it's about 7 square kilometers in Agnashni estuary. So these both estuaries are very, very important with respect to the protection of shorelines of both Karwar as well as the Agnashni areas. So this is the previous 2004 image in the Nushikote area, that is Aganashni estuary, and subsequently the image taken recently, the rejuvenated area of mangroves in Aganashni. And with respect to the CRZ, again another layer of protection for the coastal areas, where the 50 meters, the area around the mangroves is considered as the category CRZ 1A category area. Means they are the very strictly no-go areas for any development or any diversion of lands. Apart from that, again, a lot of other layers are being provided, especially between the high tide to low tide line, and also the 200 meters from the high tide line. So in Mangalore, the forest division took up the aerodynamic model of shelter belts, where different species were planted, so to protect the shore from the especially sea erosion, which actually resulted in increasing the green cover and also protection of shoreline, as well as increasing the turtle nesting in those areas. So these are all the species, they made 4 zonations. So based on the height of the species and also density, so different species were planted, and which actually created a perfect shelter belt, so which resulted in the protection of the coastal areas from the sea erosion. So again, another major issue, as I said, is the ownership issue. So almost 1,100 hectares is declared as deemed forest. So morning the PCCF was referring to forest-like areas as per the Supreme Court order, as per the MOF orders also. So these areas, once it is categorized as deemed forest, so they attract Forest Conservation Act, and also they are well protected, and still there are more areas which can be categorized as the forest-like areas for the better conservation and management. So I mean to say the turtle nesting, what we are seeing because of the aerodynamic model, there is an increased turtle nesting in the coast, and also over the years we are seeing the shifting of the turtle nesting towards northern side, and it's a phenomenon in both east coast as well as the west coast. So last year, almost 27,000 hatchlings, 27,000 hatchlings have been released to the sea. So it is again, over the years what we are witnessing is the turtle nesting is moving northern side, and also there is an increased density of nesting and also the release of hatchlings. So this is aerodynamic model, and subsequently there is a high incidence of the turtle nesting. A lot of awareness is being created, especially in the coastal communities, with respect to the turtles as well as the protection and conservation of mangrove ecosystems. So some of the major milestones with respect to the management, where the department as well as the government has taken up is the Aganashni estuary has been declared as a World Ramsar Site. That is one of the major initiatives taken by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and that actually gives a lot of impetus and thrust for the conservation of this ecosystem, because this is one of the richest estuary in Karnataka coast. A lot of importance is there, and almost 7,500 families are directly dependent on Aganashni estuary for the bivalve collection as well as other services what they get from the estuaries. And also second major initiative is the Apsarakonda, the shore area has been declared as a marine park earlier. Now we have proposed for the marine sanctuary. This is the first of its kind in Karnataka coast, where actually it protects both marine species, coral reefs, and also other marine megafauna in the Honavar coast. And another major initiative happened with the orders of the government is the establishment of coastal and marine cells. Actually, before 2019, the Karnataka Forest Department never talked about the coastal marine species, marine megafauna. In fact, we were least bothered about the conservation and management of the marine species. But with the establishment of the coastal and marine cell, now there is a lot of importance is being given, and separate dedicated field officers are there under the the leadership of DFOs concerned, and now there is a lot of thrust and importance is given. And because of the establishment of coastal and marine cell, now we are witnessing a lot of turtle nesting in the, I mean to say identification of these turtle nests in the northern part, especially in the Karwar coast. And last one, as I discussed, giving some ownership and legal status to the mangroves per se. So this is the marine park in the 1 hour coast. And the establishment of coastal and marine cell, lot of activities have been taken up, especially the livelihood improvement activities, mapping of resources, and collaboration with the marine institutes. And also, we have started a new study. This is the Agnashni estuary, Ramsar site. We have also started one more study on the mapping of Arabian humpback whales. So where these species actually travels from Oman to Gujarat coast and subsequently to the 1 hour coast, especially towards Netrani. Up to Netrani they come and they move again back to the Goa, then Gujarat coast and subsequently towards Oman. So we actually placed the underwater sonars to identify the calls of these humpback whales. In fact, we are analyzing the data of this study, and hopefully we'll have because as per the reports, there are only 100 individuals in our west coast, the Arabian humpback whales, and we want to understand what is their dynamics, how many species, how many individuals are there, and what is the dynamism of with respect to the sex ratio. Those things, in fact, we are working. Still, it is preliminary with respect to the studies. So with the coastal and marine cell, a lot of livelihood improvement programs like crab fattening, oyster culture, fish culture, green mussels culture, all these activities are being taken up as the demo plots with the help of CMFRI as well as the Marine PG Center Karwar, just to give people alternate options of dependency, so that they can reduce the dependency on the sea and also have better economic options. So, and again, other aspect is ecotourism. It is, it is growing big way, especially in our coast. We have dolphin ecotourism. We have got mangrove boardwalks. We have got the coastal, beaches. And again, we have got blue flag beach in 1 hour coast. All these are becoming big, especially with respect to ecotourism. And majority of these ecotourisms are managed by village forest committees. That is, local communities are part of the management of these ecotourism assets. So mangrove boardwalk in 1 hour and Karwar. So lot of awareness is being given to the students. Yeah. So the major lessons for the department to take it forward is the rejuvenation of mangroves. Even though we are taking up a lot of afforestation, still we are not satisfactory with respect to the survival and establishment. So their important role is the rejuvenation of these areas. Second thing is we need to increase the diversity of mangrove species, especially in our rejuvenation programs. And also, as I said, ownership. We have a lot of mangroves. Even they have to be mapped, and the legal status has to be given for the better protection of these areas. And last but not least is the focus towards marine species. So, especially, for example, yesterday we had a major, problem, especially in the Kerala coast, where the ship is, drowned, carrying the oil. So now its impact and what is its, impact on the marine resources, fishes and coast, still we don't know. So all these are all the issues which both policymakers as well as the scientists need to work, which actually gives the perspective for management. So we need to focus more on the conservation and management of marine species, because sea is not something which is Akshay Patra, which can give resources all the time. It is again there is a lot of pressure on the sea, and again department is coming up with a new program called the K-Shore program, where we are focusing on it is a interdepartmental program where 6 departments are together working on the management of plastics, especially in the coastal areas, that is from source to sink, as well as the rejuvenation of mangroves, improvement of livelihood programs, and also including the communities in overall the conservation and management of coastal areas. So that new program we are about to launch, so that that will have a lot of importance in the Karnataka coast. So with those words, I thank each one of you for patient hearing. If there are any questions or issues, I can deliberate. Thank you. Yeah, sir.
Of course, it was an excellent presentation wherein you have demonstrated that, how the management interventions can definitely lead to a conservation involving communities. But I just want to know, there is a national coastal management program. What is the synergy of the department with this national program?
Sir, actually, there is a synergy between Karnataka government as well as the Ministry of Environment Forest with respect to this program, sir. Already we have submitted, we have provided the details to the, coastal mission, but still it's not, I mean to say, action has not been initiated on ground, sir. Sir, actually, ministry's funding with respect to the conservation and management of mangroves, coral reefs is decreasing year by year, sir. That is the issue actually, but Karnataka state government is supporting with respect to the management of mangroves. As of now, we are not receiving any funding from the coastal mission. Yes, sir. State government department as well as the MOF support was there till 2022. We had support from ministry also. Yes, sir.
The presentation was really good. Congratulations. And I have one specific question. You said turtles, sea turtles. Is there any olive ridley turtle appeared in this region?
Sir, all that data is for the olive ridley turtles only. In fact, we have got 5 species of turtles in our coast. And out of that, nesting is happening by only the olive ridley turtles. Yeah. Sir.
Forgive my ignorance. Tigers, I know how they are counted because their stripes are unique. You mentioned something about 100 humpback whales in that region.
Yes, sir, yes,
how
sir.
do they know that number?
Actually, it's based on the reviews, sir, previous studies. Generally, the humpback whales, they make calls, sir, in the water. Based on those calls frequency, the individuals are being identified. Yes, sir, they are unique actually, and we have procured underwater sonars from New Zealand, and we have placed it in the Netrani Islands, sir, actually. So already we have got 3-4 times frequency, 3-4 times they have visited there in last 2-3 years. And those data has been collected, and scientists are analyzing the data, sir. In fact, today we have got the report. Still, we have to analyze the report, sir. Then only I can answer about the density of the individuals.
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect on your presentation, basically. Looking at the two concepts, basically. One is the plantation, and another is the restoration. Both of them are very, very different in nature. Okay, restoring is more of an ecological. Plantation is just you do that. As an administrator, we face in Goa a lot of conflicts in terms of increase or plantation of the mangroves in an area. In terms of identification of site, which is very, very site specific, they are very site specific. And how do you actually identify those areas as number one? Number two, I have seen many places, especially Aganasini and all this things while I travel. You have only one species that is being planted or encouraged. The rhizophora is the one which is, but mangroves are also, of course, very diverse in nature. While you identify, how do you actually, identify that particular site, considering the fact of two things. Number one, all along this mangrove area, we also have a Ghazani lands, which are also very, very important in terms of, they're all rice balls for the community. Number two, you also have mud flats. And most of the 1 or 2 photos that I saw, they are beautiful mud flats, basically. Mud flats are also much, much more ecologically rich in terms of mangrove. In fact, they are much, ecologically rich than mangrove itself. So how do you actually distinguish these two factors and intervene your restoration and or plantation program based on science, not just because the system wants you to increase the cover.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll answer in, both questions I club and I answer. So with respect to the, area per se, potential area for mangrove rejuvenation and afforestation is very less. We don't have much area for the expansion of mangroves per se. And second thing is, the species diversity. As you said, initially we took up a lot of afforestation with the Rhizophora micronata species. That is basically because it is, one is highly salt tolerant species. That is the first species, first